Hello and welcome to MGF2351 International Business. This is the first module in the course, and as you know, the first week is being presented online only. We're going to have in-class activities from then on. You'll find that the major changes between the first week and later weeks is that I've added some forums to enable us to do the group discussion activity and other activities. On successful completion of this module, the first part of this module, we're going to be able to do the following things. You're going to know the teaching team of the unit. We're going to talk about the learning outcomes for the unit. We're going to look at the teaching approaches and the rationale for their use, the module structure of the unit and its underlying rationale. We're going to talk about assessment, and we're going to talk about the learning resources used in class. Noting that part of the learning resources used in class will be an activity when I want you to go and look at the unit's website to find most of the resources. To help you with Module 1A, as you will be doing it online, I've also arranged a chat session and a forum to ask any questions. You'll be able to see the timing of the chat session for this week on the unit website. My name's Greg Fisher. I am an academic teacher at Monash College and an adjunct lecturer at Monash University. As well as that, I'm an associate professor at Flinders University, academically qualified. I can be contacted by this email, the email that's listed on the slide, or by that phone number. I don't work full-time at Monash College. I'm normally in Mondays, Tuesdays, and then Thursday and Friday mornings. My consultation times are posted on the unit website, and I will be adding additional consultation times closer to the times that major assessment is due. In this unit, we're going to deal with international business, specifically the international business context and how businesses respond to that context. The three key themes within the course are: classify the key features and issues in the global business environment in which international business takes place. So we're going to look at and describe the business environment in which international business takes place. Secondly, we're going to explain the impact that the environment, the business environment, has on the internationalization process of a business organization. So how firms go through the stages of internationalization, if it's a staged approach, or how they're born global, which is a more modern approach. And thirdly, we're going to look at the role of entry mode choice and strategic issues that are necessary for a firm to be able to achieve international business success. Each module is built around a series of flipped classroom activities. In fact, the entire course in the BIB is taught in a flipped classroom framework. Flipped classroom moves additional activities away from listening to me talk at you to having more engaging activities within class, prior to class, after class. So, pre-workshop, you should look at the intro video for the module. You should do the key points activity, which has some of which will be on video, some of which will be questions to review. There will be some short cases and readings, and there'll normally be a pre-workshop reading, which is the chapter of the textbook. Sometimes there'll be some additional readings, but normally it's the chapter from the textbook. It's a US textbook, so we'll be adding things to make it more Asia-Pacific focused in what we do in class, in assessment, post-class. In the workshop, we'll have review and discussion questions, we'll have some live case activity, we'll have some application of theory to practice activities, and some mini debates. Those things often require preparation, which links to the pre-workshop activity. In addition, there is a small accessible item when students take over the class to present a live case, a discussion activity, or a mini debate. This is normally in groups of maybe 2 or 3, maybe up to 5 students. We will be scheduling those from week 4, but we'll do the scheduling in week 2 and 3 once people are actually on campus attending. Finally, in our post-workshop activities, there's often an exercise which is relating theory to practice. Sometimes that's linked directly to one of the 2 assignments that you do in the course. There's also some review and reinforcement activities. If you keep working consistently through the course, you'll have a high chance of achieving good grades. This is not the type of unit that you can leave to the last minute and swat. There are 10 modules in this course spread over the 11 weeks, noting that Module 6 is spread over more than 1 week. Module 6 is about the time of the semester break. So this week, Module 1, over the 2 sessions, we're doing the introduction to the unit, which is what you're listening to at the moment, and we're also going to then look at an overview of globalization and the international business environment. As part of that, I'm going to place an additional focus on regionalization, because in many cases, firms go international, predominantly in one region, Asia, Europe, the Americas, for example. The second section of the course looks at national differences in the international business environment. We're dealing with that in 3 modules. The first module looks at political, legal, and economic environments, and we compare different countries. We talk about some theoretical frameworks so that we can understand those differences. We then look at differences in economic development and the pathway to economic development. For example, clearly China and Vietnam have followed a different pathway to economic development than Singapore, Australia, the US did. Thirdly, we're going to look at the role of national culture and differences in national culture in influencing the business environment in which businesses operate. Those things form a mix of the institutional environment and the cultural business environment that influence the way businesses operate in their home country, operate in their host countries, and clearly when you've got a firm operating internationally, it needs to be able to deal with those differences. The third section of the course looks at trade and investment. We have a strong theoretical week on global trade and investment theory. We have a policy-orientated week that looks at government policy and how it impacts on international trade and investment. And then we have a regional economic integration week. I shouldn't say week, I should say module. The regional economic integration looks at organisations like NAFTA or the European Union or ASEAN or AFTA, and how those, and I know I've used a lot of acronyms which you may not know now, but you will know at the end of the course, end of the unit. We're going to look at how those 3 things play out to helping us decide as managers of businesses, or help us understanding as an international business how government, policy, and supranational organisation relationships impact on international business operations. The third section of the course, or the fourth section of the course, the fourth section of the course is strategy choice in international business, market entry strategy and alliances. So we're looking at the responses that international businesses have as they internationalize and the choices that they can make. Let's move on now to talk about probably what's most important to some of you, the assessment structure. There are 3 components to the assessment structure. The first component is class tests and class presentations. This is all individually marked. There are 4 section quizzes. The first section quiz is not worth any marks. It's really a practice quiz. The other section quizzes are each worth 5 marks. They tend to happen in the week after we finish a section. Multiple choice. Sometimes the multiple choice is based on a mini case or a mini understanding. These are short, in-class, online quizzes. From what the fourth component to this section of the assessment is in-class presentations. In groups of 2 and 3 up to 5, you'll be taking over the class for 20 or 30 minutes and delivering one of the activities. You'll be given an individual mark for that activity, that delivery, that presentation. And as I said earlier in this discussion, those will be scheduled from week 4, but we'll do the scheduling in week 2 and 3. The second component of assessment is the National Differences Report. The National Differences Report is worth 40%. The National Difference, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment, and the Country Study Report is the third area. The Country Study Report's group activity. The peer and self-evaluation is the final item of assessment. Let's just talk about these things in a little bit more detail over this next group of slides. 4 multiple choice quizzes. Quiz in section 1 is a practice quiz. Section 2, 3 and 4 are worth 5% each. It's multiple choice and short answer, and it's aligned with the core knowledge and theory used in each of the sections. In-class presentations, you take leadership of the class for scheduled activities. The in-class tests and class presentations is worth 20%. The National Differences in the International Business Context Report, 2,000 words. The weighting of value is 40%. It's an individual report. There's a detailed assignment guide and marking rubric posted on the Moodle website. You select 2 countries from a list using the theory and frameworks from section 1 and 2. You address 3 core questions. What are the key differences and similarities in the political, economic and legal context of these countries? What are key differences and similarities in economic development of these countries? And using one model of culture, we'll have introduced several, what are the key differences and similarities in the culture of these 2 countries? It's not acceptable to use just your home country. So you'll be given, if your home country is listed as one of the options, you can't choose it. And a list of the countries is going to be posted in this week on Moodle, on the course, the unit website. Second item of that item of assessment is worth 40. This is worth 30. The second, which is a country study report, international business strategy and market entry report. This is worth 30%. You'll be given, it's based on a case of a fictitious company. The fictitious company will be discussed because we're doing the first week online. I'm going to discuss this item of assessment in more detail in about week 2 or 3. However, up to 6, it's a group assignment worth 30%. Student groups of up to 6 members. And you're taking the role of consultants. You've been contracted to provide advice on a company's international strategy and market entry method into that selected country. We're going to use the theories and frameworks that are presented predominantly in section 3 and 4 as a guide to your report. It's a 3,000-word report in which you'll be making a series of recommendations and providing advice based on the theory, based on our theory and practice applications about choices a fictitious company should make or could make to enter a market. And you'll be drawing recommendations and about which method and which strategy should be used. The key questions you're going to be dealing with are: what government policy and international trade and investment stance does the country have? What regional or bilateral agreements exist that may facilitate or act as barriers to the selected country's market, to entry into the selected country's market? What international business level strategy would you recommend for this company to enter this process for its international expansion, and why? And finally, evaluate the modes of entry that are potentially available to the company. Which mode of entry do you recommend and why? It's going to be a detailed assignment guide posted to Moodle. As I mentioned again, slide says first workshop. We're going to do it when we can do it face-to-face later in the course. The peer and self-evaluation is a brief self-evaluation of your own engagement in the unit and the equity of your contribution to the group. It's going to be submitted in the last class of trimester or by Moodle. It is linked to a moderation process, so attendance and participation in class or the other activities is also important. We'll discuss that again in the second or third week, well, probably the second week when we're face-to-face, so you can see what's expected. It's not the type of thing that you can all give yourself 10 out of 10 for. It is moderated. This is an attendance-based class, an attendance-based course, because you can't do the activities unless you're either doing them online or attending. So as adult, mature learners, you get to evaluate yourself, but it gets moderated by the course coordinator, which is me. So what learning resources do we have? We have the Moodle website for the unit. You can access that by my Monash. We have a textbook from 2019. It's an American textbook, Hill and Holt International Business. 12th edition is very useful. The 11th edition is also useful. Note that we will be extending some of the theory and discussion from that textbook because it does take an American-oriented position on a range of economic development and economic context issues, legal context issues. So we want to get a broader view of the business environments that we're likely to address in our careers. Other resources are going to be posted on Moodle, and those other resources are also going to be available because through your own research. You'll notice that we use a lot of contemporary case videos, some of them, for example, from CNBC, some from China Morning Post, some from CNN, some from ABC, a range of resources that talk about contemporary issues in international business. Because I think it's very important that we look at the real-world application of the theories that we are talking about so we understand the practices of business. And that aligns with our 3 learning outcomes. So, in the last few minutes, what have we done? We've discussed the teaching team of the unit. We've discussed the learning outcomes for the unit. I've talked about the teaching approaches and the rationale for their use. We've talked about the module structure and why I've got the module structure split into those 4 parts. We've talked about assessment, and I've given you information on the learning resources in the class. you will find that there is, as I mentioned earlier, because we're doing this online, a forum, which will be open on Tuesday, or it's actually open now if you want to post questions, in which I'll do a question and answer and share answers. I will also have a chat session. Unfortunately, I can't do a video chat session with the resources that are available at Monash. On Tuesday as well, which deal with answering any questions you have about Module 1A or Module 1B. Module 1B is on Friday. I'm going to do a short video that doesn't cover every single slide later this week. There's a chat session available on Friday. You'll see there's a couple of forum activities that I've asked you to do. One of the forum activities is about the theory to practice, and one of the forum activities is about review of key concepts. So if you do those activities by next Monday, plus look at what preparation you need to do for Module 2, you'll be well on track to start the course, to start the unit. Okay, see you next week in class. Hopefully, if you have any questions, see you on chat or in the forums this week.